I never thought I'd see the day when my own blood would choose a stranger's hate over family. But there she was, on my doorstep in the pouring rain of a Seattle November, mascara-streaked, face pressed against the pebbled glass, whispering my name like a prayer she didn't deserve to utter. "Ethan, please. I need you. I can't do this alone anymore." Her voice cracked through the storm, pulling me back to that godforsaken summer 12 years ago when she'd slammed the door on me. Not just the front door, but the one to her heart, because her golden boy boyfriend couldn't stomach the idea of his girl having a gay brother. And now, with everything she'd built on that lie crumbling around her, she was begging me, the brother she'd erased. It started innocently enough. Or at least that's what I told myself in the rearview mirror of my beat-up Ford pickup as I barreled down I-5 from Portland to our family's old split level in Tacoma. I was 22, fresh out of community college with a graphic design certificate clutched like a lifeline, dreaming of making it big in the city where the rain matched my moods. Mom and Dad had passed in a car wreck 2 winters prior, black ice on a bridge. The cops said, and suddenly it was just me and Sarah against the world. She was 25, the responsible one, the straight-A accountant who'd always been Dad's favorite. Me? I was the artsy, queer kid who'd spent high school sketching superheroes in the margins of my notebooks, hiding crushes on the soccer captain behind bad poetry. We'd been thick as thieves after the funeral, splitting the inheritance like pirates dividing treasure. She got the house. I got the truck and enough cash to chase my dreams. But Sarah had met Jake that spring, a real estate hotshot with a jawline like a Marvel villain and opinions sharper than his press khakis. He swept her off her feet at a networking mixer in Bellevue, all charm and craft IPAs, promising her the white picket fence she'd always sketched in her journals. I liked him at first. He laughed at my dumb jokes, even helped me load up the truck when I moved. "Family's everything. Man," he'd said, clapping my shoulder a little too hard. Famous last words. The blow-up happened at Sarah's engagement party, 6 months into their whirlwind romance. The backyard was strung with fairy lights, the air thick with barbecue smoke and Aunt Linda's potato salad. I'd brought my then-sort-of boyfriend, Tyler, a barista with tattoos and a laugh that could melt glaciers, but we'd agreed to keep it low-key. No PDA, just 2 pals holding hands under the table. Sarah had begged me to come solo at first, whispering, "Jake's folks are old school. Ethan, don't rock the boat." I swallowed it down, showed up in chinos and a button-down, playing the straight-laced brother. Halfway through the toasts, Jake's dad, some retired Boeing exec with a flag pin on his lapel, pulled me aside by the grill. "Heard you're in the arts. Son, that's creative." His eyes flicked to Tyler across the yard, lingering a beat too long. I felt the heat creep up my neck, but I grinned through it. "Yeah, designing logos for startups. Keeps me busy." He nodded, but the judgment hung there like humidity. Later, as the cake was cut, Jake cornered me in the kitchen, beer in hand, his smile gone brittle. "Look, Ethan, I get it. Times are changing. But Sarah, she's traditional. Family means stability. You know, your lifestyle, it could complicate things." My stomach dropped. Lifestyle, like being gay, was a hobby I could shell for their happily ever after. I laughed it off, nerves, mostly muttering something about minding my own business. But the seed was planted, and Jake watered it with whispers. The next morning, Sarah called me at dawn, her voice a razor wire. "What the hell did you do last night?" I was still bleary-eyed in my new apartment, coffee grounds scattered on the counter like confetti from a party I hadn't wanted. "What? I was perfect." Smiled, mingled, didn't spill a drop. She huffed, the sound of her pacing the kitchen linoleum I knew so well. "Jake's pissed. Says you were flaunting it, holding hands with that guy, making eyes. His parents noticed. Ethan, they're donors for his firm. This could tank everything. Flaunting? Tyler and I had barely brushed knuckles. But doubt wormed in. Had I leaned too close during a photo? Laughed too freely? I drove over that afternoon, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge swaying under tires slick with doubt. Sarah met me at the door, arms crossed, Jake looming behind like a shadow in khakis. We need to talk boundaries, she said, not inviting me in. The air between us crackled, the kind of tension that precedes thunder. You're serious? Overhand holding, my voice pitched up, betraying the kid brother still desperate for her approval. Jake stepped forward, all calm authority. It's not about you, Ethan. It's about us. Sarah's future. Kids. Someday. You get that, right? We can't have drama. As if my existence was a plot twist in their rom-com. Sarah nodded, eyes averted, twisting her engagement ring like it was a noose. Just tone it down around us. For me, I wanted to scream, to grab her by the shoulders and shake until she saw the hypocrisy etched in Jake's smug grin. But I nodded instead, choking on the words. Sure. Whatever you need. Sis. Driving back, the bridge lights blurred through tears, and I vowed to build my own world, one where love didn't come with asterisks. That vow held for a year, fragile as rice paper. I threw myself into freelance gigs, sketching logos for coffee shops and tech startups, scraping by in a studio above a taqueria that smelled eternally of cumin. Dates came and went, flings with bar hoppers who vanished by brunch, but no one stuck until Alexander. God, Alex. He crashed into my life at a gallery opening in Pioneer Square. All sharp cheekbones and thrift store chic. A photographer with a Nikon slung over his shoulder and eyes like smoke quartz. We bonded over bad wine and worse small talk. Him mocking the pretentious abstracts while I doodled caricatures on napkins. Our first real date was rain-slicked streets and pho that burned our tongues, laughing until we gasped. He was from Philly, transplanted for the light, endless gray skies that made every break in the clouds a miracle. Your trouble, I told him that night, as we stumbled into my apartment, his hand warm in mine. The good kind, he shot back, pulling me close. No qualifiers, no side eyes. Just us, tangled in sheets that smelled of fresh laundry and possibility. Telling Sarah felt like a test I wasn't sure I wanted to pass. It was Christmas, the house decked in her meticulous garlands. Jake's family due any minute. I waited until the turkey was carved, slipping into the den with eggnog in hand. Got news, I said, heart hammering. Her face lit up, expecting a promotion. Maybe, then dimmed as I spilled it. Met someone. Alexander. He's everything. For a split second, joy flickered. Then Jake's voice from the hall. Babe, your brother's got a boyfriend. He sauntered in, plate pile high, but his eyes were cold flint. Sarah froze, fork midway to her mouth. That's great, Ethan. Really, but the warmth was gone, replaced by a calculation I recognized from boardroom pitches. Jake leaned in, voice low. Congrats. Man, just keep it PG around the kids. Yeah, there are no kids yet, but the implication landed like a gut punch. You're the uncle we tolerate, but barely. The fracture widened after that. Invites dried up, no birthdays, no barbecues. Sarah's texts turned perfunctory, busy week. Love ya. Jake's influence was a poison ivy vine. Creeping through her feed, shares of traditional values memes, articles on family erosion. I saw it all, scrolling late nights when Alex snored softly beside me, his arm anchor. The breaking point came unannounced. A Tuesday in July when the Puget Sound shimmered like fool's gold. I'd landed a big client, a craft brewery needing rebranding, and drove to the house uninvited. Bottle of their IPA in hand as peace offering. Sarah answered, hair in a hasty bun, flour-dusted apron screaming domestic bliss. Ethan, what's up? Surprise. Figured we'd celebrate. I thrust the bottle forward, grinning like an idiot. She hesitated, glancing back. Jake appeared, tie loosened, scotch in tumbler. Brother-in-law. To what do we owe? The word brother-in-law twisted, laced with sarcasm. We sat in the living room, the one with Dad's old recliner still bearing his dent. I rambled about the gig, the designs, hops twisting into rainbows, a nod to Seattle's queer scene. Sarah smiled faintly, but Jake's jaw tightened. Rainbows? Huh, bold choice. His tone was casual, but the undercurrent roiled. Then it spilled. You know, Ethan, we've been thinking about starting a family. And we want the best for our kids. Clean slate, strong role models. Sarah shifted, uncomfortable. I waited for the but. It came like a freight train. Maybe it's best if you dial back the visits. For now. Until things settle. Dial back. We'd barely spoken in months. My chest caved. What are you saying, Jake? That I'm toxic because I love a man. He shrugged, ever the reasonable one. Not toxic. Just different. Sarah agrees. Right, babe? She did. Nodded, eyes on her lap. It's not forever, Ethan. Just protect us. I love you, but family comes first. Family. The word she'd weaponized. I stood, chair scraping like a scream. Your family. You mean the one that fits your step-forward fantasy. Tears burned, but I held them. Fine. You win. But don't come crying when the fairy tale sours. The door slammed behind me, echoing into silence. I drove to Alex's, collapsing into his arms as the dam broke. He held me through the sobs, murmuring, "You're enough. You're my family now." And in that cramped Ballard walk-up, with rain pattering the roof like judgment, I believed him. The years that followed were a deliberate unmaking, thread by thread, of the tapestry Sarah and I had woven from shared grief. I threw myself into the grind, turning that brewery gig into a portfolio that snagged me a junior role at a hot agency in Capitol Hill. Days blurred into nights of mood boards and client calls. Alex's camera clicking beside me at openings. His exhibit in Soto selling out faster than I could brag. We built a rhythm. Sundays at Pike Place for coffee and crab cakes. Hikes up to Rattlesnake Ledge where the view stole our breath and words alike. He proposed on a ferry to Bainbridge, ring hidden in a thermos of spiked hot chocolate. The Olympics rising like a promise in the distance. Marry me, Ethan. Make this chaos official. I said yes before the question finished. Our kiss tasting of salt spray and forever. But the ghost of Sarah lingered, a bruise that throbbed on holidays. First Christmas without her. I cooked turkey in our tiny kitchen, Alex basting while humming carols off-key. We Skyped Mom's old recipe, laughing at the lopsided bird. But midway through grace, the emptiness hit. To absent sisters, Alex toasted, clinking my glass. I forced a smile, but inside, resentment coiled like kudzu. Why her? Why him? She reached out sporadically. Texts like breadcrumbs. Miss you. Jake's promoted, VP now. I'd reply politely. All's up. Until the baby announcement 6 months later. A grainy ultrasound pic. Caption, baby one incoming. Aunt/Uncle Ethan. The slash mocked me. I stared at it for hours, thumb hovering over delete. Alex found me on the fire escape. Cigarette unlit between fingers. Send flowers. Neutral ground. So I did. Pale blue hydrangeas. No card. Her thank you call was strained. They're beautiful. We should catch up soon. But soon stretched to never. Jake's shadow eclipsing any bridge. The misunderstanding festered, unspoken. I assumed she'd bought his bigotry wholesale. Traded sisterhood for security. What I didn't know, what no one knew, was the secret gnawing at her from the inside. Jake's charm masked cracks. The late nights, networking. The bar tab she found crumpled in his pockets. The way he'd snap over small things. Like her forgetting to iron his shirts. But pride glued her lips shut. Admitting fault meant unraveling the dream. Instead, she doubled down, convincing herself my queerness was the real threat. A scapegoat for the unease blooming in her chest. Meanwhile, my world deepened with Alex. We bought a fixer-upper in Fremont. Trolls under the bridge, our quirky neighbors. Wedding was small. Courthouse vows followed by dim sum and a road trip to the coast. Rings glinting as we chased waves at La Push. You're my North Star, he whispered that night. Sand in our hair. Stars pricking the velvet sky. I believed in us. In a life we'd carved from rejection's rubble. But secrets have a way of mirroring. Mine simmered too. A hell scare I buried under deadlines. Fatigue that dogged me. Bruises from minor falls. Doctors mumbled, watch it, but I waved them off. Couldn't risk dimming our light. The first crack in Sarah's facade came via mutual cousin. At a family reunion I skipped. She's not herself, Lisa texted. Jake's traveling more. Kids colicky. Pray for them. Pray? For the woman who'd ghosted me? I archived it. Focused on Alex's big gallery show in New York. We jetted east. His photos, intimate portraits of queer couples against urban grit, hung in Chelsea like revelations. Critics raved. We celebrated with Manhattans and a hotel bed that creaked under joy. But on the flight home, turbulence rattled more than the plane. A voicemail from Sarah. Voice thick, Ethan. It's me. Call back. Please. I deleted it. Heart pounding. Alex squeezed my hand. You don't owe her. But doubt whispered. What if? She called again a week later, as autumn leaves choked the gutters. I answered in the agency parking lot. Exhaust fumes curling like accusations. Ethan. God. The baby's sick. RSV. Jake's in Chicago. Deal closing. I can't. Sobs swallowed the rest. My resolve cracked. A hairline fracture. On my way, Alex drove, silent sentinel, as we navigated Tacoma's sprawl to the house that once felt like home. She looked hollowed, ponytail limp, nursing bra peeking from a robe. Little Emma wailed in the bassinet. Oxygen mist hissing softly. Sarah collapsed into my hug. The first in years. Her body shuddering. Thank you. I didn't know who else. We nursed the baby through the night, rocking shifts while Alex brewed tea and hummed lullabies. Dawn brought fragile peace. Sarah's eyes met mine over Emma's downy head. I'm sorry. For everything. Not yet, I said, voice steady. But maybe. Jake returned midday, all bluster and briefcases, masking exhaustion with backslaps. Hero bro to the rescue. Oh, you won. His gratitude felt scripted, but he tolerated Alex's presence. Even shared a beer on the porch. For a moment, détente shimmered. Family. Fractured but mending. Sarah pulled me aside before we left, pressing a photo into my hand. Us as kids. Gap-toothed grins at the county fair. Don't give up on me. Please. I pocketed it. The paper crinkling like a contract. Driving back, Alex's hand on my knee grounded me. Proud of you. But guard your heart. Wise words. But hearts are stubborn cartographers. redrawing maps on whims. The thaw was tentative. Text warmed, baby updates. My design wins. She even liked Alex's Instagram posts, cautious hearts on beach selfies. Jake played nice, inviting us to Emma's first birthday, a backyard bash with balloons and a smash cake. We went, me in a rainbow tie as quiet defiance. He clapped my back harder than needed. Looking sharp. Ethan. Alex treating you right. The subtext prickled, but I smiled. Better than right. That night, as Emma smeared frosting on my cheek, Sarah leaned in. Wine loose. You too. Your goals. Jake and I, we're working on it. Her eyes darted to him, laughing with uncles over football. Working on it. The phrase hung, heavy with unsaid fractures. I wanted to probe, but the moment passed in a blur of gifts and goodbyes. Then came the bomb, dropped via email from an unknown sender, Jake's assistant. Forwarding for the family. Court docs, divorce filing. Dated weeks prior. Sarah's name, petitioner. Citing irreconcilable differences. My phone buzzed with her call as I read. Voice a ghost. It's over. He's been seeing someone. For months. I found out after Emma. Rage boiled for her pain. For the years wasted. For the irony that twisted like a knife. Come to us, I said. No hesitation. She did, showing up with Emma in a duffel. Eyes swollen but spine straight. Alex cleared the guest room. I cooked pasta Alfredo, her favorite from childhood nights. Over plates. Stories spilled. Jake's affairs. The gaslighting. How he'd twisted my coming out into her weakness, a wedge to justify his control. I was scared, she admitted, fork trembling, of losing the dream. But losing you? That was the real nightmare. Understanding dawned, bitter as black coffee. Her shunning wasn't just his poison. It was her fear, projected onto me. The misunderstanding ran bone deep. I'd seen betrayal. She'd seen survival. Secrets unraveled, her silent suffering. My buried fatigue, now diagnosed as early lymphoma. Treatable, but terrifying. Why didn't you say, she gasped. Hand over mine. Same reason you didn't about him. Pride. Shame. We cried then. Messy and real. Emma cooing in her high chair like a tiny mediator. But reconciliation's path is potholed. Jake fought dirty in the custody battle, painting Sarah as unstable. Me as the deviant uncle, unfit for influence. Court dates loomed. His lawyer's briefs laced with homophobia that made my skin crawl. He'll use anything, Sarah warned, pacing our living room. Even you. The decision loomed. Jagged. Testify for her. Risk dredging our history into public mud? Or step back? Let her fight solo? Alex held me through sleepless nights. Your call. But know this. You're not the villain in anyone's story but his. Depth of psyche cracked open. My resentment a shield for abandonment wounds. Hers a cage of perfectionism. Therapy beckoned. Joint sessions where we unpacked the shunning like fragile heirlooms. Climax brewed unexpected. A storm front rolling in on a crisp October eve. Jake cornered me outside the courthouse. Post-deposition, his face a mask of false civility. You happy now? Turning my daughter against me. Venom dripped, but something shifted his eyes, wild with desperation. Not dominance. Sarah's got you snowed. You think you're the hero? You're the reason she doubts everything. Your perversion infected us. The slur landed, but instead of rage, pity flickered. This man, architect of our rift, was unraveling, affairs exposed, career teetering on ethics violations. I saw him then, not monster, but man broken by his own facade. Homophobia a crutch for deeper insecurities. It's not about me. Jake. It's about Emma. And Sarah deserves better than your scraps. He lunged, fist half raised, but security swarmed. Sarah watched from the steps, horror etching her face. That night, over takeout Thai, she broke. I chose him over you because I was terrified of being alone. Like after mom and dad. But you were never alone. You had Alex. I envied that. Empathy surged, a tide washing resentment's shores. Fan no lingered for the years stolen. The love conditional, but beneath, compassion bloomed. We weren't saints, we were survivors, scarred by choices we'd both regret. The custody hearings stretched into winter, a gauntlet of affidavits and alibis that tested our fragile alliance like frost on a windshield. Sarah crashed on our couch more nights than not. Emma's giggles filling the house with a chaos I hadn't known I craved. Alex became Uncle Alex overnight, hoisting her onto his shoulders for trolley tours of the troll sculpture. His laughter a balm to my fraying nerves. Chemo started quietly, a Tuesday infusion that left me queasy and querulous. But Sarah spotted the 4 bruises first. "Ethan, talk to me." So I did. The words tumbling like loose change. Diagnosis. Prognosis. The fear that this body, finally claimed as mine, might betray me yet. Her face crumpled. Not pity, but shared terror. Why hide it? We're in this now. We were sisters in arms. Or brothers. Or whatever messy label fit. Joint therapy unearthed more. My sketches from high school. Hidden drawers of superheroes with Alex's eyes. Her journals. Pages inked with doubts about Jake from the honeymoon. I saw the flags. She confessed one rain-lashed afternoon. Emma napping to the patter on the window. The control. The rages. But admitting it meant admitting failure. And you. Coming out so brave. It highlighted my cowardice. The irony stung. My authenticity had been her mirror, reflecting flaws she couldn't face. Misunderstanding deepened into mutual forgiveness, slow as sap rising in spring. Jake's camp escalated, deposing old neighbors for character insights, whispers of my lifestyle influencing Sarah's instability. The tabloid echo chamber amplified it. A local rag ran a puff piece on the scandalous divorce of Tacoma's rising star. My queerness a sidebar smear. Online trolls swarmed Sarah's profiles, vitriol that made her delete them in tears. They're saying I'm using you. That we're unnatural. I held her then. Fierce. Let them. We're family. Blood and chosen. But inside, the old wound suppurated. Fan no at a world that weaponized love. Dawn cam for the girl who'd once braided my hair during Dad's chemo vigils. Difficult decisions piled. Should I go public with my illness to humanize us? Counter smears with our story? Alex advised caution. His artists I seeing the long game. Paint your truth, but on your canvas. The unexpected crest hit mid-January. A subpoena I never saw coming. Jake's lawyer called me to the stand, not as supporter, but witness to Sarah's premarital volatility, dredging the shunning as evidence of her abandonment issues. The courtroom smelled of polished oak and stale coffee. Fluorescent buzz underscoring the judge's gavel. I took the oath, palms slick, Alex's ring a talisman under my sleeve. Under oath, Jake's attorney, a slick weasel in pinstripes, probed like a dentist on Novocaine. Mr. Hargrove, you and your sister had a falling out, correct? Over your sexual orientation. Gasps rippled, Sarah's hand clenched in her lap. I breathed deep, channeling every therapy breakthrough. Yes, but it wasn't about orientation. It was about fear. Jake missed her. Harlan convinced her I was a threat to their future. He used my being gay as a wedge. But the real fracture? His insecurities. Objection overruled. The attorney smirked. Insecurities? or moral decay influencing her. The slur implicit, the room tensed. But then, twist like a plotter's knife, Jake himself took the stand next, crumbling under cross. His testimony devolved, admissions of affairs not one, but three, embezzlement from client escrows to fund them, rages that left bruises Sarah had hidden under long sleeves. I lashed out, he choked, eyes darting to her. At her. At him. Because I couldn't face myself. The courtroom hushed. Jake, the homophobe extraordinaire, confessed in a whisper that ricocheted. I experimented. In college. A guy. Buried it deep. Married Sarah to prove I was straight. But it ate me. Your happiness. Ethan, it mocked me. Made me hate what I couldn't be. Bombshell. The judge adjourned, but the air crackled with revelation. Sarah reeled in the hallway, face ashen. He. What? I pulled her into the alcove. Alex shielding us from flashes. Doesn't excuse him, but explains the venom. Betrayal layered anew, not just his to her, but his self to the world. Fan no surge for the man who'd projected his closet onto my open door. Dawn cam flickering for the boy he'd silenced. We won custody primary that afternoon, joint with supervised visits for Jake. His empire in ruins. Sarah sobbed in my arms. Emma clutched between us. I judged you. For being true. While he. God. Ethan. Forgiveness flowed freer then. A river carving canyons of understanding. Spring thawed more than ground. My treatments wrapped with a clean scan. Alex's next exhibit featured a series on fractured families, Sarah posing for one, her and Emma, light filtering through cracked panes, symbolizing mending. We hosted a barbecue in our backyard, the same bench from that sunset proposal, now hosting her too. Jake appeared once, post-rehab, hollow-cheeked and humbled, extending an olive branch over burgers. I was wrong. About everything. No apology mended scars. But his nod to Alex, genuine, tentative, hinted at growth. Yet depth lingered. Psychological strata we mined in quiet moments. Sarah started her own firm, accounting for nonprofits, queer youth center's first client. Reparations, she joked, but her eyes shone earnest. I designed their logo, interlocking hearts in rainbow hues, subtle as hope. Alex captured all, portraits of us three, siblings reborn, love's quiet rebellion. One evening, as fireflies danced over the lawn, Sarah raised a glass. To second chances, and brothers who never really leave. We clinked, the sound of chime against old ghosts. I've been shunned, yes, by fear's cruel arithmetic, but begged back by grace's insistence. And in that American suburb, under stars indifferent to our dramas, we chose each other. Again. But wait, the story doesn't end in tidy bows. Jake relapsed months later, a DUI that revoked visits, sending Sarah spiraling into what-ifs. Did I fail him too? She'd whisper, rocking Emma through nightmares. I'd counter with truths unearthed, failures not in loving flawed people, but in letting their shadows eclipse your light. My own shadows loomed, scans clear, but survivors' guilt whispering. Why me and not mom? Therapy wove us tighter, a tapestry resilient to pulse. The true humanism bloomed in the mundane, Sarah walking me to infusions, remission watch. Me sketching Emma's first steps, Alex's lens framing our chaos into art. Controversies faded, society's judgments. Jake's echoes, but the internal wars raged on. Decisions like whether to pen a memoir exposed the mess for other solace. Write it, Alex urged. Your voice, heal with it. And so, on that backyard bench, sunset gilding our faces, I began. Not for vindication, but for the boy who'd sketched heroes in hiding, the sister who'd begged at my door. For love, dramatic and flawed, that endures the shunning. Because in America's heartland of contradictions, where rainbows clash with flags, and family means both wound and wonder, we found our way home. Looking back, that reconciliation barbecue felt like the eye of the storm, a brief hush before the winds howled anew. Sarah had rebuilt tentatively, her firm humming with clients who valued ethics over spreadsheets. Emma thriving in preschool with finger paints and fierce opinions. We'd fallen into a rhythm, the three of US plus Alex, orbiting like planets in a newly charted solar system. Sunday suppers became sacrament, lasagna bubbling, wine flowing, stories swapped like currency. She'd tease me about my artsy-fartsy deadlines. I'd rib her for alphabetizing the spice rack. Emma called me Unca E, her pudgy hand in mine as we chased squirrels in the yard. Normalcy, hard won and holy. But Jake's shadow stretched long, even from afar. His rehab stint yielded a manship, 6 months sober, a court-mandated counselor vouching for progress. He petitioned for expanded visits. Emails to Sarah laced with paternal longing. I miss her curls. Let me be dad again. She wavered, torn between caution and compassion. Her therapist's voice in her ear. Boundaries, not walls. I watched her wrestle it. Nights on the porch with chamomile tea, eyes distant as the sound. What if he's changed? For Emma. I wanted to roar no, protect her from the viper who'd struck first. But gross cruel gift is nuance. I'd learned to see Jake not as cartoon villain, but fractured human. His homophobia, a symptom of self-loathing that therapy was supposedly cauterizing. Test it slow, I advised, echoing Alex's steadiness. Supervised. And I'm there. She nodded, gratitude in her squeeze. You always were. The first visit was a minefield. Neutral turf at a park in Lakewood. Picnic tables scarred by initials. Swings creaking under summer haze. Jake arrived early. Khakis starched but eyes haunted. A stuffed unicorn clutched like contrition. Emma squealed at the sight. Toddler memory forgiving where ours couldn't. Sarah hovered. Me at flank. Alex snapping discreet candids for the album. Jake knelt to her level. Voice soft. Hey, kiddo. Daddy's back. She babbled about daycare dragons. He listened. Really listened. No phone in sight. After, over ice cream cones dripping vanilla rivers, he approached me sidelong. Ethan, I owe you. For being there when I wasn't. No excuses. Just raw. I nodded. Throat tight. Do right by her. That's all. Fan no-ebbed. Replaced by weary hope. Controversial. Yes. To humanize the herder. But real as the stickiness on my fingers. Yet secrets breed in fertile silences. Mine resurfaced in fall. A routine scan revealing shadows. Mets to the lymph. Stage creeping like ivy. The oncologist's words blurred. Aggressive. But we got options. I told Alex first. His face crumpling into that fierce tenderness. We'll fight. Together. Sarah next. Over coffee that tasted of ash. She paled, then rallied. Lean on me. Like I did, but her eyes betrayed fear, not just for me, but the echo of losing our parents, the fragility she'd armored against. The misunderstanding that reignited was subtle, a spark in dry tinder. Jake, sensing vulnerability, offered support, financial, logistical, for Emma during my treatments. Sarah accepted a check for preschool tuition, pragmatic as ever. I discovered it via bank alert on her phone, left charging during a movie night. You're taking his money? After everything. My voice pitched, betrayal fresh as that slam door years back. She recoiled, defensive. It's for Emma. Clean break. No strings. But strings there were. Jake's texts evolving from custody pleas to how's Ethan? Heard he's under the weather. He'd pieced it from grapevines. Turned it into leverage. The argument erupted post-bedtime. Emma's door cracked to monitor cries. You're using me again? Like bait to worm back in. Accusations flew. Hers landing hard. And you're projecting. Can't trust anyone since I hurt you. Alex mediated. Calm as a lens shutter. Breathe. This isn't then. But the wound gaped. Dredging old fan no, her initial shunning. Now mirrored in this perceived alliance. Dong Cam Ward within. Her desperation a mother's. My suspicion a survivor's. We cooled in separate corners. Therapy Zoom, the next day unpacking it like a crime scene. Fear's the real betrayer, our counselor intoned. Name it, disarm it. Climax crested unexpectedly. A tempest in February's chill. Jake, emboldened by progress, requested unsupervised overnights. Sarah demurred. He escalated. Filing motions laced with half-truths, her instability exacerbated by my illness drama. The gall, twisting my cancer into ammunition. Court loomed again, but fate intervened via anonymous tip to the DA, Jake's old firm. Audits revealing more fraud. His name on falsified docs. Fed swooped, cuffs clicking as reporters swarmed his doorstep. Sarah got the call mid-shift, collapsing into my arms at the agency. It's over. For real. Relief mingled with grief. For the man he'd been in glimpses. For the family illusion shattered twice. Jake's plea deal included restitution. But prison bars loomed. His final letter to her a scrawl of remorse. I destroyed us to hide from me. Forgive? For Emma. She burned it in our fire pit that night. Ashes swirling like exorcism. Not yet. Maybe never. But for Emma, visits halted, clean slate. No shadows. My treatments intensified. A gauntlet of nausea and needles. Alex and Sarah tag-teaming hospital vigils. She'd read aloud from Emma's picture books. Voices silly for superheroes battling beasts. He'd smuggle in contraband comics. My sketches reborn in panels of defiance. Depth plumbed. Cancer is metaphor for our riffs, invasive, but operable with radical honesty. Difficult choice crystallized during a low point. Post-chemo fog. Disclosed publicly? A blog post. Raw and real. Chronicling shunning. Begging. Healing. For the kids like Emma, I told them, who need to see love wins messy. They greenlit it. Alex editing for Punch. Sarah adding footnotes of her contrition. Published to Viral Whispers. Shares from queer advocates. Op-eds in Seattle rags. Backlash bit. Trolls decrying sob stories. Jake's allies murmuring bias. But the flood of DMs, thanks from siblings reconciling. Partners supporting scans, validated the vulnerability. Spring bloomed defiant. Remission declared on a daffodil-dazed morning. Confetti from Alex's popper dusting the exam room. Sarah threw the party, our backyard. Fairy lights twinkling like that engagement night long ago. But now inclusive. Cousins and queer friends mingling with her accountant crew. Emma toddled between legs. Unicorn from Jake, clutch forgotten. Toasts rang to survivals, to sisters who beg, to brothers who forgive. Yet humanism's hue is sepia, not technicolor. Jake wrote from Count a Lockup. A single page to me, you were right. About everything. Be the uncle I couldn't. I filed it away. Not unread, progress. Not perfection. Sarah dated cautiously. A barista with kind eyes and no skeletons. I freelance Boulder. Designs for pride campaigns that screamed authenticity. One twilight. Bench creaking under us. Sarah leaned head on my shoulder. I begged because I lost my way. You let me back because you're better. I squeeze her hand. Nah, we're even. Messy humans, remember? Stars pricked awake. Alex calling us to dinner. Emma's laughter the real hook. Shunned once. Begged later. We'd scripted our own American epic, dramatic falls. Romantic risings. Conflicts that scarred but strengthened. In the end, not fairy tale, but family raw, resilient, ours.